Got Ty Hudson on the line, Pig Trail Network, to talk. Okay, Arkansas personnel. And this is a crazy year across college football, of course, with the pandemic 2020, but it's spilling into the offseason now with this transfer portal. There's always the NFL draft issue for teams, and there's always obviously recruiting. So let's start with the NFL draft. Probably not hitting this team and this program as hard this year as it is most teams of this stature, but run us down in regards to who may be leaving, going, who's decided to come back. Give us kind of the narrative there.
The good news for Arkansas, like you said, they weren't really impacted. I mean, Rakeem Boyd, who a lot of people in your audience probably remember last chance U, he was kind of a star that year. What was that, season 3 with Coach Brown, and Rakeem was I remember at the end of that season, he was really worried about making the right or wrong decision. I think looking back, he made the right decision. It just didn't end up the way he wanted. But Rakeem Boyd, who opted out with one game to go, and he's going to the NFL. And then Jonathan Marshall, defensive tackle, who's really the only guy up front on the defensive line for Arkansas that really had any push, that had any kind of impact whatsoever. I mean, they were horrible at getting to the quarterback, or as far as getting sacks. They could pressure a guy, but they couldn't sack a guy. And that was ultimately an issue for Arkansas this year. But Jonathan Marshall was really the only bright spot on the defensive line. Grant Morgan, who's, a finalist for the Burlsworth Award, one of the best walk-ons in the country. He's going to go down as one of the greatest walk-ons behind, obviously, Braden Burlsworth, who's a former Razorback himself, who the trophy's named after. So Grant Morgan is going to come back for the Hogs. That is a huge, big time. I mean, you're talking about an all-conference, all-American linebacker coming back. People were concerned about that. I was concerned about Monteric Brown because Arkansas had some issues at the cornerback spot this year where you had, once again, another walk-on, only he was a freshman. At the other corner spot, but Monteric, it was kind of low key, but he said he was going to come back. And I mean, they had a few guys, Shamar Nash. We talked about him a little bit before we went live. Big time 4-star receiver out of IMG. He's going to transfer to Memphis. Shibwez Nwana, who was a pretty highly regarded JUCO, who's going to transfer. But yeah, they're as close to being unscathed as you can be. There's a lot of upside going into the offseason. And fortunately, not a whole lot of so far. I know we got a little ways to go. We still got the final signing period in February, but so far they look to be in pretty good shape.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we love each and every day. We got the best bloggers, broadcasters, writers in the industry showing up here multiple times per day. We got Ty Hudson on the line for our first time here, and I can tell that I'm probably going to be tracking you down again. Ty, good stuff coming from Ty. You can catch him on Pig Trail Network. So the transfer portal, I see a list of names. I've gone from team to team to team. There's typically about 8 to 12 guys per team. I don't think Arkansas has been hit too hard. Anything of note, whether they be departures or arrivals?
Well, right now, I don't know. The biggest question has been the quarterback situation at Arkansas. Now that Felipe Franks, he's officially declared he's going to play in the Reese's Senior Bowl, assuming it even happens. But he's declared he's not going to come back to finish out his next senior season. So the question is, what's going on at quarterback? And are they going to reach out in the transfer portal and maybe look for someone? There's already been some names out there, and I don't think they will. I'm not even so sure that they should. KJ Jefferson, who's the 6'3", 235, 240-pound dual-threat quarterback, played against Mizzou, and I don't have his stats up in front of me right now, but was really impressive. I think he gave Hog fans a lot of hope, and I think he did the same thing with the coaching staff. So I feel pretty confident that they're going to stay away from the quarterback position. You never know. I mean, if there's someone out there who's big enough, who could run the Kendall Briles offense the way that they want to run it, and is a true dual threat and doesn't have the injury list, and is someone who you can count on to maybe come in and push for some playing time. I don't know that happens. I really feel pretty confident at the quarterback position. We'll see what they do. They just landed a big-time former Arkansas commit in Tykees Crawford out of Charlotte. And he committed to Arkansas last year. Then I can't remember his issues, but he had some I think it was grades if I remember right. And he played a year there. Then he released his projections as far as where he wanted to go, and I think it was Arkansas, Florida State. Again, this kid was already committed to Arkansas, and I believe Sam Pittman had recruited him when he was at Georgia. So maybe someone will have to fact check me on that. But anyways, he committed again with Arkansas. I believe he's going to be here for the spring, so he'll be he'll be able to take part in that again, assuming we have a spring camp. But other than that, I don't know that there's anyone. But you know how this transfer portal works. Anybody can pop up at any time, and things could change at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, I guess on one hand, you would figure that a program developing like Arkansas would be all over the transfer portal, but at the same time, with few departures and such a young team, I think that's obviously the way to go in terms of traditional recruiting. It should be a way to build a team. It should be a complementary piece here or there. I don't think it's the way to go and to try to build a program. And as you mentioned, KJ Jefferson, 41 attempts for the season, 18 of 33 in that Missouri game, 274 yards, 3 TDs, no picks. So a nice outing against the Tigers. Got Ty Hudson on the line from Pig Trail Network here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. If you enjoy the conversation, we would ask that you smash the like button, you subscribe, you hit the bell for the notifications, when we go live, which is multiple times per day. Got Ty Hudson on the line talking Arkansas football. And you know what they say about the offseason is that sometimes the best acquisitions are just keeping the guys that you have. And you can include that for the coaching staff as well. And it appears as though, despite the defensive issues, everybody knew that Arkansas might have had the worst and least experienced defensive personnel going into 2020. So for Barry Odom to pull off what he did in regards to keeping it together, the unit forced a lot of turnovers, especially early in the season. It seemed as though this is a definite plus for Arkansas football. Yeah.
Outside of Justin Stepp, who is going to go to South Carolina, take the same position for a little bit more money. I think he was making $400 here. He's going to end up making about $460 at South Carolina. Wanted to go home, it sounds like. And it's a, in my opinion, that was a pretty big blow. Justin Stepp is a guy who walked into Texas and walked out with big time talent. And of course, was a big part of Treylon Burks' recruitment, big time 4-star player out of Warren, Arkansas, and who was awesome this year and really blew up. And the development of wide receivers was great too. When Burks goes down with an injury, you had guys like Devion Warren and Mike Wood step up big time, or when you have guys like, I mentioned Shamar Nash, who entered the transfer portal. They had Trey Knox, who was this big-time 4-star out of Tennessee, who really took a step back this year. And I don't know if that's because of offense or what, but again, it seemed like Stepp did his work here. And he said, okay, if we're having these issues with Knox, then these other guys are going to step up for you. And that's exactly what they did. So Stepp's departure, to me, is a blow to some degree, as far as recruiting and development on the field. But other than that, they're keeping everybody. I'm a big fan of Ryan Rhodes, the linebacker coach, what he did with Bumper Pool. And I mentioned Grant Morgan and kind of, keeping those guys fresh. And you saw it this year. These two were so pivotal. When the defensive line wasn't able to make stops up front of the line of scrimmage, the linebackers were stepping up and blowing up gaps. Like it was for a while there, especially before injuries kicked in, the linebackers were just incredible. They were, the open field tackling was just, we hadn't seen that in a little while. And that's even with guys like Scooter Harrison, Dre Greenlaw, who's playing for the 49ers in the NFL. Like we hadn't really seen it. Even then we still had questions. And this year, the first 5-6 games, I thought the linebackers were on another level. We just haven't seen that here in a while, but the staff, young, some of them, a little bit, you kind of wonder about the experience a little bit, but overall, I hope they're able, moving forward from here until obviously you get into spring when these teams are now safe at that point for the most part, as far as losing anybody. Hopefully they keep everybody intact. And I think that's going to be the case. Kendall Briles, we know, offensive coordinator at Arkansas, is going to make some short list. Wouldn't surprise me at all between now and whatever, so like I said, spring maybe, that someone else is interested in him, but I feel pretty confident they keep these guys.